And now, enjoy the show.
It's 2010, and even though I'm 37 years old, my 3-step skincare regimen is working wonders. I have one of those faces that can kind of go either way. I alternate between vanity and the sneaky suspicion that I might look like a cross between Ellen DeGeneres and Janice the Muppet.
But Ellen is beautiful. She's a cover girl.
Yeah, okay, but there's 2 types of cover girls. Models, and then famous people who aren't so easy breezy. There's something in my neck. It's a mass. I don't say bump or lump or gland. There's a mass in my right thyroid gland. I know this because these fingers are trained fingers. I'm a veterinary surgical oncologist, a cancer surgeon for dogs and cats. And I know the mass is new, not because I'm a veterinarian, but because I've been touching my neck twice a day since I was in grade 9. It's 1987. I'm 13 years old and I'm in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. And my best friend was like, do you want to go to this modeling class with me at the Bay on Saturday? It's free. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, totally. Our modeling instructor, Barb, was somewhere between 30 and 50 years old. I don't know. I can't age adults. Really old anyway. She was tall and thin and pretty with lots of makeup and bulky jewelry. Her overall aesthetic was late 80s orange. Orange hair, orange tan, orange clothes, orange blush, orange lipstick, blue eyeshadow. At the morning break, Barb pulled me aside. Honey, you're never going to be a model. You're too short and you're not pretty enough. But you can stay for the day if you'd like. This hurt my feelings, and also it was true. The good news is, I wasn't planning on a career as a model. Up until very recently, the only thing I've ever wanted to be is a veterinarian, ideally a pretty one. Luckily, being pretty is not a requirement of the job. I mean, any more than being pretty is a requirement of any woman in any job. The day was not a total loss because Barb taught me about the 3-step skincare regimen, and I followed it twice a day from that moment forward. Step 1, cleanse. Step 2, tone. Step 3, moisturize. Then Barb taught us something about the critical moisturization step that has stuck with me to this day. Don't forget your neck. Barb's old tanned neck was not looking good. It's too late for Barb, but not for me, and my homely, too short to model self, and my nubile 13-year-old neck. My teen modeling career was nipped in the bud, but Barb started me on the right neck path. The aging turkey neck plagues women as they march into middle age, and no amount of Botox or plastic surgery can erase the creping of the neck. The neck is the truth. I just wish Barb had said, don't forget your neck in décolletage. Because honestly, my décolletage, it's looking a little worse for wear. But my neck looks amazing. So that's how I know this mass is new and it's not good. It's 3 a.m. I can't sleep. I'm Googling thyroid cancer and imagining different tragic scenarios of my impending death. Do you ever think about dying? This is my first time. I mean, I know we all die, but it's always been more of a concept, something that happens to old dogs and old people. And now I'm wondering if this mass in my neck is how I'm going to die. Thyroid cancer. maybe. It's ironic anyway, I'll give you that, Cancer. I love irony. It's one of my favorite literary devices. It's right up there with satire and tragedy. It looks like this mass could be benign or a cyst or thyroid cancer. I'm mostly Googling thyroid cancer because that's what I think it is. And the prognosis for most cases of thyroid cancer is actually pretty good, especially in my age group. I'm basically the thyroid cancer poster girl. I need to see my doctor. Looking back, my doctor reminds me of Pete Buttigieg. Yeah, like that. He's young and confident and earnest. He has a good memory, and he's a little bit nerdy. That's probably redundant. Most doctors and veterinarians are nerds. He's not exactly on fire, though. He palpates my neck. There's definitely something there. Great. At least we agree. It's a thing. He's the doctor, but I treat thyroid cancer all the time in dogs. I've done the ultrasounds, I've read the papers. I'm the one who does the surgery in dogs. I'm sure it's nothing, but we're going to work you up just in case. I'm going to send you for an ultrasound and blood work. Try not to worry. Hi, I'm calling to book a neck ultrasound. It's urgent. No, my doctor didn't say it was urgent, but it is. It's urgent. I think I have thyroid cancer. I'm a veterinarian. Next week. Really? Yeah, I guess that is lucky. Thank you. I'm an assertive woman, I think. Well, now I'm wondering if I'm only assertive when it's easy to be assertive, which is by definition not assertive. How did I leave my doctor's office without an urgent referral to an endocrinologist and a head and neck surgeon? Maybe I'm just being a hypochondriac. I mean, a lot of veterinarians are. Maybe I think it's cancer because I deal with cancer all the time. It might just be a cyst. A cyst could get big this quickly. I think it's growing. I used to have to feel around for it, but now I can feel it pushing on my trachea, and I can see it in the mirror when I turn my neck to the side. You're probably wondering how I got my hands on this ultrasound machine. My husband, Steve, is a large animal veterinarian. He was pretty reluctant to bring it home. I begged him. It's definitely not a good idea. This ultrasound machine is normally for breeding horses, which means this ultrasound probe is normally ultrasounding horse ovaries per rectum. The probe goes up the horse's rectum like this, which is how most of you probably imagine veterinarians anyway. But this is a brand new probe and machine. I think it's important to tell you that. There's my carotid artery, and there's my larynx, and there's my thyroid gland, and there's the mass. It's easy to find because it's fucking huge. It's 4 centimeters. And it's definitely not a cyst because a cyst has fluid in it, and that looks dark like this. And this is tissue like a tumor. I know I could be jumping to conclusions, and I know it's pretty messed up to ultrasound your own thyroid mass and then interpret the images yourself, but it looks like thyroid cancer to me, and I know what I know. I think it's getting bigger. I ultrasounded it last night. There's a 3.9 centimeter mass within the right thyroid gland. It's hypoechoic compared to the adjacent tissue, and there's mixed echogenicity with some areas of mineralization. There's a large blood vessel running through the middle of it and one small cystic area. This fulfills most of the ultrasonographic criteria of malignancy. Normally, your doctor tells you that you have cancer, not the other way around. Maybe I was more assertive this time, or it might have been the tears. I look pretty when I cry. My doctor gave me an urgent referral to an endocrinologist and a surgeon and a prescription for Ativan. Yeah, I feel it. I need some sleep. I'm going to skip ahead a bit. I have surgery to remove one side of my thyroid and the mass. It takes 4 weeks for the lab to come back with a diagnosis, which is totally unacceptable if you're a dog. But apparently very normal if you're a person. And the mass has come back as a thyroid carcinoma. I have thyroid cancer. As disappointing as this news is, and as upset as I am, I do like being right. Those are my friends. They know that's true. I have another surgery to remove the left side of my thyroid gland and radioactive treatment. It's a radioactive pill that you take, and if there's any thyroid cancer cells left in my body, they will take up the radioactive iodine and die. And normal cells, they don't do that because only thyroid cells can take up iodine. Cool, right? I just finished my radioactive iodine therapy. I've been isolating at home for 3 days. Without getting too graphic, the radioactive iodine has kind of wreaked havoc on my gastrointestinal tract on its way through. But I feel better today, and I have to decontaminate the house because Steve's coming home. The instructions say that radioactive urine is the biggest culprit, but that should be easy to clean up because the urine just goes in the toilet and then you can flush it away, right? These instructions confirm something that I have always suspected. Men are disgusting. It's science. Men should put blotting paper around the base of the toilet so it is easy to clean up the radioactive urine. Or hear me out, men could just sit down to pee. I mean, especially when your pee is radioactive, but maybe just always if you're going to be splashing your pee-pee all around the toilet base, just sit down. There's also instructions here on how to cook for others in your household when you are radioactive. You should not reuse a tasting spoon when serving others. You should not do that anyway because it's gross. Avoid contact between your hands and the food when you are preparing baked goods. For example, when you are kneading bread. So why am I cooking and baking bread for the entire family during my cancer treatment? Maybe they could cook for me if it's not too much trouble, or get takeout, or maybe they could just buy bread this week. I'm done with cancer. I'm going to move on. Thyroid cancer was the beginning of all of this, but it's not the end. And spoiler alert, I'm still here. And I'm doing fine.
Thyroid cancer is good cancer, right?
It's so good. But you know what else I've heard is pretty great? Not having cancer. But if any of you have been thinking about getting a cancer, it's the best one. I'm back at work after all my thyroid cancer treatments. I'm working as a surgeon at the vet school in Guelph. I'm feeling fine, thank you for asking.
You look good.
They always say it like that. Good, like it's a surprise. Like maybe I look a little too good, not cancery enough. But I think I look the same. I'm maybe a bit more tired and this badass scar on my neck.
Oh, you can't even see the scar.
Yeah, okay, right. Hey, my eyes are up here. I'm working in the hospital on a Friday afternoon, and my favorite student brings in a 12-week-old kitten. His kitten ate a shoelace, and she's so sick. I palpate her abdomen, and it's painful, and we take some x-rays, and as you can plainly see, she has an obstruction of her small intestines. Now, when a kitten eats a shoelace, one part of it can get stuck, and the rest of it keeps moving down. It's kind of like if you put a pair of sweatpants in the dryer, and the waistband cord gets stuck on the drum, and the sweatpants keep going around, and then the waistband gets so bunched up on the cord that your sweatpants need emergency surgery or they're gonna die. She needs surgery tonight. My student is crying. Dr. Boston, I can't afford it. I'm gonna have to put her down. Can you do it for me? Yeah, I don't put down the kitten. I can't. I choke. What kind of story would this be if it ended up with a dead kitten at the end anyway? What's the point of being a veterinarian if I can't help people when I want to? It's Friday evening by now, and there's not a lot of people around. Let me see what I can do. I take some liberties with the surgery fee. The surgery's quick. The kitten does great. You need to take her home first thing in the morning to save costs. The kitten is saved. So hero, right? Three weeks later, I get an email from the dean. Dear Sarah, I would like to meet with you to discuss the charging inconsistencies in the foreign body surgery you performed on a kitten on April 3rd. This can only mean one thing. Someone must have told on me. Pretty sure it was my work nemesis. It's also pretty unusual that a dean would waste their time worrying about charging inconsistencies for a student's kitten instead of, just focusing on their job being the dean. It's ridiculous. It would be kind of like if the Premier of Ontario got super focused on where ready-to-drink beverages are sold. Right? Instead of just doing their job running the province. I set up the meeting with the dean's administrative assistant, and the dean has invited my department chair to the meeting. Fuck. Dear Dean, please could I request that a faculty union representative is present for our meeting. Dear Sarah, I was hoping this meeting would be informal, but because you have invited a faculty union representative, I now have no choice but to invite a representative from the provost office. The meeting day is finally here. The dean's administrative assistant had to book us a conference room because we won't all fit in the dean's office. So it's me, the dean, the chair, the faculty union representative, the representative from the provost's office, the dean's administrative assistant, her 11-year-old son, because it's bring your kid to work day, my lawyer, a court stenographer, a sketch artist, 5 veterinary students on their vet ethics rotation, Lady Whistledown from Bridgerton, 3 dogs, and a clown. It's the 5 of us. We're here to discuss the charging inconsistencies for the foreign body surgery I performed on a kitten on April 3rd. This is not a formal investigation, but it could be. You're not being disciplined, but you could be. This was a very difficult, emotionally charged situation. I made the best judgment I could at the time. You're not a team player, Sarah. You don't follow the rules. And you didn't do the student any favors because now he's stuck with a hospital bill that he can't afford. This was a very difficult, emotionally charged situation. I used the best judgment I could at the time. If you'd really wanted to help this student, you should have done the surgery, charged the regular fee, and then paid the bill yourself. I can pay for it if you want. Everyone would have been better off if you had just euthanized the kitten. Except the kitten. And also me. I wouldn't have been better off. This was a very difficult, emotionally charged situation. I used the best judgment I could at the time. This goes on for 45 minutes. I finally just asked her, you were a surgeon. What would you have done if you were me? I would have euthanized the kitten. This was a very difficult, emotionally. I'm sorry. I have to go. The crowd of perimenopausal women scatters. They're looking for Kleenex, looking at their notes. They're looking away from me. There's so much snot. And I know I should be embarrassed, but I'm not. I just needed this to end. What was she trying to teach me? Being a vet is hard sometimes. Sometimes you have to euthanize animals even if you don't want to. Even if it breaks your heart. Even if it breaks you. I already knew that. I've done it more times than I can remember. But for whatever reason, on April 3rd, I just couldn't euthanize my student's 12-week-old kitten, which resulted in charging inconsistencies for the foreign body surgery that I performed. I'm being recruited to a fancy faculty job at the University of Florida. Fresh off thyroid cancer treatment and the Kittengate scandal. And also an incident with my work nemesis that's been redacted from the script because we're in Guelph. True story. Moving to Florida seems like a reasonable idea.
Florida? That'll be a big change.
Yeah, I guess so. Steve got a job as a large animal veterinarian on a 4,000-acre horse and cattle farm just outside Gainesville, and it comes with a place to live. There's 40 other people that live on the farm. Steve's boss is an Austrian-Canadian auto parts billionaire. That used to be a lot more fun to tell people. Some of you watch the news. The farm is beautiful and peaceful and gated, and yes, Florida's weird, but I always feel safe there. And Steve works with real cowboys, with real cowboy names. There's Hut and Tuffy and Cletus and Wild Bill and Dickie Roo. And Steve's cowboy name is Doc. Everyone has a cowboy name. Oh, except for Jeff. The cowboys fucking hate Jeff. Even cowboys have a work nemesis. When the cowboys talk about Jeff, they go, he ain't worth killing. Steve comes home with a different Florida cowboy story every week. Like, okay, this one time, the cowboys were in the cattle pen and they were Cadillacing. Cadillacing means they're supposed to be working, but they're Cadillacing, and they start drinking, and then someone tells on them, and then two of the cowboys get in a fight about who told the foreman, and one of them pulls a gun, the other one pulls a gun, and then someone else calls the police, and the police come and they find a dead alligator in the back of someone's pickup truck. And then the alligator cowboy gets arrested because in the state of Florida, you can't kill an alligator without a license. That's illegal. Getting drunk at work and pulling a gun on someone, that's standing your ground. Most of Steve's Florida cowboy stories end with an injured cowboy, a cowboy in prison, and or a dead cowboy. The Florida cowboy retirement plan is an early death. Florida's a big change. It's not all bad, though. If you want to be instantly prettier, thinner, and younger, all you have to do is move to rural North Florida. Because I'm not overweight, I haven't damaged my skin with the sun and smoking and crystal meth. I have all of my teeth. People in rural North Florida are always telling me how pretty I look. People in rural North Florida regularly ask me if I used to model. Just to be clear, no one thinks I'm an active model, but they think it's feasible that I could be a retired model who's just a bit past her prime. so Barb can suck it. Everything is relative, right? Steve works with a 35-year-old woman named Gina. She has 4 children. She's already a grandmother. They all live together in Gina's mobile home, and the floor of the trailer is rusted out with holes that are so big that rats can get in. And Gina's husband just got out of prison. He has one of those tear tattoos on his face, which either means he killed someone in prison or that he's really sad. Anyway, that shit will age you. In Florida, I'm often the prettiest girl in the room. Right now, I'm probably not even the prettiest Sarah in the room. And Canadians can be pretty harsh with each other about their looks. When I was 27 years old, Steve and I went on a mini break to London, Ontario. We got a great deal at a 3.5-star hotel. And we got there and we realized there was a bodybuilding competition there that weekend. And so the hotel lobby was full of hairless orange muscleheads. Steve and I checked in and we went straight for the hot tub. Now, when I'm in a hotel hot tub, I don't talk to anyone. I pretend no one else is there or they can't see me. I'm like a hotel hot tub ghost. There's a lot of bodybuilders here, pre-gaming in their swimsuits. 2 female bodybuilders get into the hot tub, but I'm ignoring them. They make a beeline straight for me. Are you competing this weekend? What? No, I'm not a bodybuilder. And then she could have said nothing. Oh, because we heard there was someone here competing who's really skinny with poor muscle definition. We thought it might be you. No, it's not me. It's June 2014, and I'm back in Canada visiting for my book tour for my book, Lucky Dog. The book launch party is tonight. It's at the E-Bar in Guelph. You know, it's right above the bookshelf. I know. I have so many people here. There's my friends and my family and my colleagues and clients. Even the dean came. I'm pretty overwhelmed. It's great, but I kind of feel like a bride who's at a wedding to herself. I'm signing books, and Steve's aunt, who I've known for over 14 years, she comes over with her book. And it's just the stress. I totally blank on her name, which is so tricky because I have to write her name in this book with a Sharpie. Hey, you, look at you. I trained for this. My book publicist told me, if you forget someone's name at a signing, you just have to ask them, how do you spell your name again? And she goes, Jane. Right? Aunt Jane. Everybody, thank you so much for coming. It's so great to be back here in Canada. I'm going to read a bit from my book, and then hopefully I get a chance to talk to you all. For me, cancer will not be a dark shadow, like it is for some survivors with more aggressive cancers. If it recurs, I will be almost as shocked as I was the first time around. The one element I won't find shocking is the concept of my own death. We don't consider death very often, but contemplating your mortality brings a certain level of freedom. Appreciating life for what it is, brief and precious, is cancer freedom. We are constantly trying to forget that we are all going to die. What if we stop protecting ourselves from death? It doesn't need to be so morbid. It might help us to focus on the things that are important and bring us happiness. What would you change in your life if you were going to die in a few days, weeks, months, or years? Well, the truth is you are. How few days, weeks, months, or years of life does it take before you start living the life that you want to live? We also try very hard to forget that our pets are going to die one day too. We get a puppy or a kitten, and we know on one level that they will go before us. We know the projected lifespan of our cat or particular dog breed, but it always seems very far away. When my clients are faced with the shock and disbelief that their pet has cancer, most of the shock and disbelief is focused on the fact that their pet is going to die, when really they knew that from the start. We all knew. They always leave us. They always break our hearts. I recently euthanized our dog Molly at home. It was only 6 months after I finished all of my treatments for thyroid cancer. She was 15 and a half years old, and she was just done, not sick with any one problem, or at least not one that I had discovered, just expiring, ready to go. She didn't want to go on her walks, interact, or enjoy life, not to mention she was rather senile and completely deaf. I put a catheter in her back leg while she was on her bed in the living room. Steve was at the front end, feeding her cheese and scratching her ears. We were both crying as I gave her the injection. It was fast and peaceful. None of us will be lucky enough to have a death this good, eating cheese in bed with your best friends in the world as the lights fade out. It's July 2016. I'm driving from Gainesville back to the farm. It's about a 45-minute drive. It's after midnight, and I'm not usually out this late. I was in for a work thing. As I'm driving along the rural North Florida roads, I see a truck in front of me. And the truck turns right, and I turn right. The truck turns left, and I turn left. I think the truck is going to the farm. I pull up behind the truck just as they get to the security gates, and I see the driver, a young woman, punch in the code, and the gate opens slowly. It will remain open for 3.5 minutes before it closes again, slowly. I follow them in. I don't want to sit out here by myself. I feel exposed, and I feel so safe when I get back onto the farm. I'm following the truck along the tree-lined single-lane roads on the farm. It's so dark. There's no moon and no stars, and my house lights are turned off. I'm actually so absorbed listening to NPR on the radio that I drive right past my house. As soon as I realize it, I turn around. I see a set of headlights coming towards me fast. It's a busy night on the farm. But usually we drive a little slower on the farm. And usually when you come up on another car, we move over to the right to let each other pass, and then we give a little courtesy wave. Usually we turn down our headlights. The truck pulls up, and it stops right in the middle of the road. A man gets out of the driver's side. He's wearing a pair of cut-off sweats and nothing else. The headlights create a halo of body hair around his silhouette. He has a gun. Get out of the car! Freeze! Get out of the car! It's Sarah! I live here! I live on the farm! A woman bursts out of the passenger side of the truck. It's Cherie. She works with Steve, and she lives here too. She's got a cell phone in one hand and a barking Jack Russell Terrier in the other. Sarah, someone followed my daughter and her friend onto the farm. No, that was me. I was following them. We have to go. We have to find him. But it was me. They're not listening. Cherie and the barking Jack Russell Terrier and the fat man with the gun all pile back in the truck, and they drive off. Cherie's boyfriend, Brett, his name's Brett. call Steve to apologize. I can hear Steve in the other room talking to him. No, I don't think so, Brett. Don't come over. Maybe tomorrow. She's way too upset to talk to anyone right now. She can't even talk to me. Yeah, so Brett comes over. He's still not wearing a shirt. Canadian politeness takes over and we let him in. Miss Sarah, I'm so sorry. We thought you were the killer. When I got out of the truck, thought I was going to have to kill you. Then I saw your blonde hair in the headlights. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to church tomorrow. I'm going to pray. Well, Miss Sarah, at least now you know. There are people on the farm ready to protect you if you ever need it. He ain't worth killing. Do you ever think about dying? This is my second time. I've never had a gun pointed at me before. And for a second I thought, oh, maybe this is how I'm going to die. Getting shot on the farm where I live. It's ironic anyway, I will give you that, Florida. I love irony. It's one of my favorite literary devices. It's right up there with satire and tragedy. But I guess it just wasn't my time. I have this theory that animals and people have a predetermined expiry date, and it's totally beyond our control. Once upon a time, there were 4 veterinary students in Gainesville, Florida, and they were crossing a busy 4-lane road to go to class. In the middle of the road, there is a kitten. The kitten is scurrying back and forth, trying to dodge the cars, terrified. The vet students see the kitten and spring into action. They're herding it across the road, stopping traffic, getting hit themselves. They get the kitten across the road to safety, and she rests in the grass beside a retention pond. The kitten is saved. Heroes, right? In that exact instant, an alligator emerges from the retention pond, and in one swift motion, takes the kitten into its jaws and disappears into the deep water. This was always going to be that kitten's last day. It's October 2017. We're moving back to Canada at the end of the month. We've been in Florida for 5 years.
5 years? It seems a lot shorter than that.
Well, I guess that's because it isn't your life. Was it the gun thing? Or the fact that Trump is president? Or just Florida? I don't know. Maybe. I have this feeling of impending doom. I was thinking more civil war, less global pandemic, but I wasn't wrong. I just really need to get back to Canada. Oh, there's also the neo-Nazis. On October the 19th, just before we move, Richard Spencer is coming to the University of Florida to speak. Richard Spencer is a white supremacist, neo-Nazi, anti-Semitic conspiracy theorist who's currently on his speaking tour in the US. He's not allowed to come to Canada because his views and speeches are actually illegal here. And at first, University of Florida declines his request to speak. This would be only 2 months after the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia, where Spencer was a featured speaker. One of the protesters there was killed. This is the one where Trump said there was good people on both sides. But Spencer threatens to sue the University of Florida because of his First Amendment right to free speech. You know, I'm no constitutional lawyer, but I didn't know the First Amendment covered forcing universities to rent out their auditoriums to neo-Nazis and then making the university pay $700,000 for security. But it's happening. Richard Spencer's here today. It's big news. It's huge. Governor of Florida called a state of emergency. I'm at work all day following everything on social media. It's like a terrible car accident. I can't look away. Gainesville is full of neo-Nazis, 2,500 protesters, the police, the army, the media, and Antifa. When Richard Spencer goes to speak, he is drowned out by the protesters chanting, "No neo-Nazis here. Spencer, go home." He tries to speak for 30 minutes, but each time he's drowned out and he finally has to give up. He is furious. But I guess free speech works both ways, bitch. You're free to speak, but you can't make people listen to you. So the neo-Nazis, the protesters, the police, the army, the media, Antifa, Richard Spencer and I are all leaving the UF campus at roughly the same time. Richard Spencer gets a police escort directly to the Orlando airport to protect him from himself, I guess. I just head back to the farm. I want to get as far away from this as possible. Steve and I decide to go for dinner. And Williston, the tiny hick town, which is near the farm where we live, has a brand new Japanese restaurant. One of the more progressive cowboys recommended it to us. "Hey, Doc, that Jap place is pretty good." He's not that progressive. As we're walking into the restaurant, I notice a silver Jeep with Texas plates in the parking lot. So 2 Canadians walk into a sushi bar in Florida, and there are 30 neo-Nazis there eating sushi. They have some of the tables pulled together to make one long table for this white supremacist banquet. I recognize them right away. I've been watching them on Twitter all day, stalking them on Twitter all day, and they're all wearing the same thing. White button-up shirt, khaki pants, big boots, and of course, the team haircut. Steve asked me, "Do you want to leave?" Nope, I'm good. I've never been this close to neo-Nazis before. I can't even believe they're real. I think I'd be less scared if I walked in and there was 30 bears eating sushi. The Japanese waitress doesn't seem to know who they are, but she recognizes they're all wearing matching outfits, and she asks them in a very strong Japanese accent that I will not do. "Do you all work for the same company?" And then one of them goes, "Kind of. We're from all over the country." And then another one goes, "Actually, we're from all over the world." Holy shit. Technically, I'm Jewish, because my mom's Jewish, and those are the rules of the religion that I don't follow. My grandparents were Holocaust survivors, and my mom didn't grow up Jewish because of all the anti-Semitism at the time. Well, luckily, that's over now. So I wasn't raised with Jewish religion or culture, but just the intergenerational trauma. I have questions. Are white supremacists even allowed to eat Japanese food? Wouldn't the Bubbacue's barbecue down the road be more appropriate for this gathering, or maybe a patio with tiki torches? They love tiki torches. They finish up their dinner. It takes them forever to leave because they all want separate bills. Classic neo-Nazis. Steve and I head home. We turn on the news. There's Tyler, William, and Colton from the sushi place. They were just arrested for shooting at the protesters today. Apparently, they drove up to a group of protesters in a silver Jeep. They had a verbal altercation, and one of them, Tyler, got out, yelled "Heil Hitler," and fired a single shot into the crowd. Then he got back in the Jeep, and they drove off and got sushi. That happened so fast. It can only mean one thing. The Japanese waitress must have told on them. Hurricane Irma ripped through Florida last month, but this whole month before the move feels like a hurricane. I'm still working in the hospital. We're packing up the house to move, and I'm traveling for work to Edinburgh and Indianapolis. My endocrinologist, who hasn't called me once in 5 years, called. "Sarah, your thyroid hormone is dangerously low. I don't know how you're functioning," which is so funny because I also don't know. I've been supplementing my low thyroid with caffeine and pure abstinence, which is Not the same. And the movers come and take all of our stuff. All we have left is a mattress on the floor and a few dishes in the kitchen. And what started out feeling like chic minimalism now feels a bit more sad crackdown. I feel like a character from the original Trainspotting. In my last few days of work, I'm having a terrible time. I'm not sleeping. I'm getting these awful headaches like I've never had before. And I've got this tingling sensation around my right ear. There's also something going on with the skin on my chin. My 3-step skincare regimen is not working. On my last day of work, I feel terrible. I've got this throbbing pain on the right side of my face. And I can feel through the day at work that my skin situation is evolving, but I don't have time to look at it, and I have to ignore it. Just get to the car is my mantra all day, because at the end of the day, Steve's coming to get me, and we're going to start driving north to Canada. Just get to the car. It's okay. You just need to get to the car. Just 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 get to the car. This has been the longest day of my life, but Steve's here. Oh my God. Look at my face. Can't believe I was walking around like this all day. I think I hugged 100 people goodbye. There's also something in my neck. It's an enlarged lymph node. I don't say bump or lump or gland. There's an enlarged right mandibular lymph node. I know this because these fingers are trained fingers. I'm a veterinary surgical oncologist, cancer surgeon for cats and dogs. And I know it's new, not because I'm a veterinarian, but because I've been touching my neck twice a day since I was in grade 9. The lymph node is huge. It's so big, it's distorting my face. I think I have shingles. Fuck. You know I'm right. We stop at a medical clinic on the I-95. It's one of those urgent cares. I call them the doc in the box because I'm such a snob. But the nurse practitioner I see was so good. He confirmed my self-diagnosis of shingles, and he started me on antiviral medication, and he put me on pain medication. When I said goodbye to him, I was so grateful and weirdly emotional. Thank you. Goodbye. I'll miss you. I love you. I am so sick. We want to stop for the night, but there's a University Florida Georgia football game in Jacksonville tomorrow, which means there's no hotel rooms for miles. One last dig from the south, a culture I could never fit into or understand. I'm ashamed of my shingles. Shingles is for old people. Shingles means I'm weak, I'm broken. There's also these pustules erupting all over my face. I feel the deep shame of the ugly. We stop in South Carolina to see some friends, and it's Halloween weekend. My friends take one look at my face, and they were like, Sarah, let's go out as zombies. I mean, we'll dress as zombies. You can just go like that. And as you can see from this very real photo of me at the time, my zombies costume is on point. I'm just kidding. I would never let anyone take a picture of me with shingles. I don't go out with my friends either. Even with the shame of joining the old and the weak and the ugly, the worst part about shingles, by far, is the pain. It's neurogenic pain. That's Latin. It means, please, someone kill me. I wouldn't wish this on my worst work nemesis. I have trouble finding words to describe how painful this is. I understand suicide in a way I never have before. I feel hopeless. We keep driving north. Steve, look at my face. I'm never going to be a model. I'm too short and I'm not pretty enough.
Welcome to Tim Hortons. What can I get for you today?
But at least I made it home.
Tell you what tomorrow